What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors walks onto a daytime talk show stage and finds himself in the middle of a battle he never saw coming? In just 44 seconds, a simple question turns into an all-out war that leaves the entire studio in shocked silence and ends with the most dramatic exit in talk show history. Samuel L. Jackson settles into his seat on the View set, the bright studio lights warming his face as the audience applause dies down. He's here to talk about his latest film project, something he's done 1,000 times before, on 1,000 different stages. But today is different. Today, something is about to go very, very wrong. Sunny Hostin sits across from him, her notes spread out on the table in front of her. The other hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, Sarah Haynes, and Anahita Afshar, are arranged around the table, ready to jump into the conversation. Everything seems normal. Everything seems fine. So Samuel, Sunny begins, leaning forward with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. Let's talk about your new movie. But first, I think we need to address something that's been on a lot of people's minds. Samuel raises an eyebrow, his expression still friendly, but cautious. Sure, what's that? Well, Sunny continues, her voice taking on a sharper edge. There's been some talk about the roles you choose. Some people are saying you always play the same type of character. The angry man, the tough guy. Don't you think that's a bit limiting? Don't you think you're contributing to certain stereotypes? The studio goes quiet. You can feel the tension creeping into the room like fog rolling in from the ocean. Samuel's smile fades just a little, but he keeps his cool. I think, he says slowly, carefully, that I play complex characters who happen to be strong. There's a difference between playing a stereotype and playing a fully realized human being who has strength and conviction. Sunny waves her hand, dismissively, actually waves it like she's swatting away his words like flies. But isn't it all the same, though? I mean, let's be honest. When people see you in a movie, they know exactly what they're getting. The same performance, the same energy, the same everything. Joy Behar shifts uncomfortably in her seat. Whoopi's eyes widen slightly, like she can see where this is heading, and she doesn't like it. Sarah looks down at her notes, suddenly very interested in the paper in front of her. Samuel sits up straighter, his jaw tightening. The same performance? I've played everything from a Jedi Master, to a drug dealer, to a hitman, to a teacher. I've done Shakespeare. I've done comedy. I've done drama. So I'm not sure what you're talking about. Oh, come on, Sunny says, and there's a laugh in her voice that feels cruel, mocking. We all know what your brand is. You show up. You yell some words with emphasis. You look intense. And that's about it. I'm just saying. Maybe it's time to challenge yourself a little more. Branch out. Do something that actually requires range. The audience gasps. Actually gasps. You can hear it ripple through the crowd like a wave. Samuel's face goes completely still, and that's when you know something bad is about to happen. It's the quiet before the storm. It's the moment, right before the lightning strikes. Excuse me? Samuel's voice is low, controlled, but there's steel underneath it. Did you just say I don't have range? Sunny shrugs, and the gesture is so casual, so careless, it's almost offensive by itself. I'm just being honest. That's what we do here. We have honest conversations. And honestly, I think you've been coasting on the same persona for years. It works for you, obviously. You're successful. But is it really acting at that point? Or is it just being yourself over and over again? Whoopi finally jumps in, her voice urgent. Sunny, I think maybe we should... No, Samuel interrupts, holding up a hand. Let her finish. I want to hear this. I want to hear exactly what she thinks about my career, my craft, my 40-plus years in this industry. 40-plus years doing the same thing, Sunny shoots back, and now she's not even pretending to be polite anymore. Look, I respect your success. I do. But let's not act like what you do is some kind of extraordinary artistic achievement. You found a lane that works, and you've stayed in it. That's smart business, but it's not exactly groundbreaking artistry. Sarah tries to intervene. I think what Sunny might be trying to say is... I know exactly what she's trying to say. Samuel cuts her off, his voice rising now. She's trying to say that my work doesn't matter, that I'm some kind of one-trick pony who just shows up and collects a check. Is that what you're saying, Sunny? If the shoe fits, Sunny replies with a smirk. The audience erupts. Some people are booing. Some are gasping. Some are just sitting there with their mouths open, unable to believe what they're witnessing. This is not how interviews on The View usually go. This is not normal. Anahita tries to smooth things over. I think we can all agree that Samuel has had an incredible career with so many memorable performances. Memorable because they're all identical, Sunny interrupts, not even looking at Anahita. Her eyes are locked on Samuel, and there's something almost gleeful in her expression, like she's enjoying this confrontation. I mean, can anyone here tell me the difference between his character in one movie versus his character in another movie? Anyone? Joy shifts again, clearly uncomfortable. Sunny, maybe we should move on to... No, Samuel says firmly. We're not moving on. We're going to finish this conversation. You want to sit here on national television and tell me that my life's work is worthless? That everything I've built, every role I've prepared for, every character I've inhabited, it all means nothing because you think it's all the same? I didn't say worthless, Sunny says, but her tone suggests she might as well have. I said repetitive. There's a difference. You're good at what you do. You've just been doing the exact same thing for decades. And what have you been doing? Samuel fires back. Sitting at this table, giving your opinions about things you don't understand, about people whose shoes you couldn't walk in for 5 minutes? You think because you have a platform, you have the right to tear down someone's entire career based on your limited, narrow perspective? Sunny's face flushes red. Limited? Narrow? I'm a lawyer. I'm a journalist. I think I'm qualified to have an opinion about popular culture and the media we consume. Being a lawyer doesn't make you a film critic, Samuel says, his voice cutting through her words like a knife. And being a journalist doesn't give you the right to be disrespectful. You're not being honest right now. You're being rude. There's a difference. Whoopi tries again. Okay, let's all just take a breath here. No, Whoopi, Samuel says, standing up now. He's tall, imposing, and the camera catches the full weight of his presence as he rises from his seat. I'm not taking a breath. I came here as a guest, to talk about my work, to have a conversation. Instead, I get ambushed by someone who clearly has some kind of agenda. Agenda? Sunny stands too now, her voice rising to match his. I don't have an agenda. I'm just not going to sit here and pretend that mediocrity is excellence just because someone is famous. The word hangs in the air. Mediocrity. She actually said it. She called Samuel L. Jackson's work mediocre on live television. Samuel goes very quiet. His face is calm, but his eyes are blazing. Mediocrity, he repeats softly. You think my work is mediocre? I think it's become predictable, Sunny says, doubling down. And predictable is just another word for mediocre when we're talking about art. Joy puts her face in her hands. Sarah looks like she wants to disappear. Anahita is frozen, unsure what to do. Whoopi is staring at Sunny with an expression that clearly says, "What are you doing?" You know what's predictable? Samuel asks, his voice steady but powerful. This right here. Someone who sits in a comfortable chair, never having to put themselves out there, never having to create anything, never having to stand in front of a camera and bare their soul, thinking they have the authority to judge those who do. That's predictable. That's what's mediocre. How dare you, Sunny says, and now she's really angry. I work hard at what I do. I'm sure you do, Samuel replies, but you're not an actor. You don't know what it takes. You don't know the preparation, the vulnerability, the risk. You see the finished product, and you think you understand the process. You don't. I understand enough to recognize when someone is phoning it in, Sunny snaps back. That's it. That's the line. The line that should never have been crossed. Samuel takes off his microphone, just reaches down, unclips it, and places it carefully on the table. The gesture is deliberate, final. What are you doing? Sunny asks, and for the first time, there's a hint of uncertainty in her voice. I'm leaving, Samuel says simply. I don't have to sit here and listen to this. I don't have to subject myself to someone who clearly invited me here just to tear me down. That's not an interview. That's an ambush. That's disrespectful, not just to me, but to everyone who has ever supported my work. You can't just leave, Sunny says, and now she sounds almost panicked. We're in the middle of... Watch me, Samuel interrupts. Whoopi stands up quickly. Samuel, please, let's just talk about this. There's nothing to talk about, Whoopi, Samuel says, his voice softer now. I have respect for you. I have respect for this show. But I won't be disrespected like this. I won't sit here and let someone who has never done what I do tell me that my life's work doesn't matter. Nobody said it doesn't matter, Joy tries weakly. Samuel looks at her, then at Sarah, then at Anahita. You all just sat there. You let her say those things. You didn't step in. You didn't defend a guest in your house. That says everything I need to know. We were trying to let you handle it, Sarah says quietly. And I did, Samuel replies, by leaving. He starts walking toward the exit. The cameras follow him. The audience is dead silent now. You could hear a pin drop in that studio. Every eye is on Samuel as he moves across the stage with the kind of dignity and grace that only comes from years of experience. Years of being professional, even when others are not. This is ridiculous, Sunny calls after him. You're being oversensitive. I was just giving my opinion. Samuel stops, turns around, looks directly at her. Your opinion is not the problem, he says quietly. It's how you delivered it. With arrogance, with contempt, with the kind of superiority that comes from someone who thinks their position gives them permission to belittle others. That's the problem. I didn't belittle you, Sunny protests, but her voice lacks conviction now. You called my work mediocre, Samuel says, on national television. You said I've been phoning it in for years. You dismissed my entire career as repetitive and predictable. If that's not belittling someone, I don't know what is. Anahita finally speaks up. Sunny, maybe you did come on a little strong. Don't start, Sunny snaps at her. Then back to Samuel. If you can't handle criticism, maybe you're in the wrong business. Samuel actually laughs at that. It's a short, sharp sound without any humor in it. I can handle criticism. I've been handling it for 40 years. What I can't handle is disrespect disguised as honesty. What I can't handle is someone using their platform to attack rather than engage. What I can't handle is being invited somewhere as a guest and being treated like an adversary. You're being dramatic, Sunny says, and the dismissiveness in her tone is stunning. And you're being cruel, Samuel responds, but I'm done with this. I'm done with you. Good luck with the rest of your show. He turns to leave again. This time, he doesn't stop. He walks straight toward the exit, his back straight, his head held high. The cameras capture every second of it. Whoopi calls out one more time. Samuel, please. But he's already gone. The door closes behind him with a solid click that echoes through the silent studio. For a long moment, nobody moves. Nobody speaks. The four remaining hosts just sit there, looking at each other, looking at the empty chair where Samuel had been sitting just moments before. Sunny breaks the silence. Well, that was unprofessional. Joy turns to her slowly. Are you kidding me right now? You just drove Samuel L. Jackson off our show. He chose to leave, Sunny says defensively. I was just doing my job. Your job is not to attack our guests, Whoopi says, and her voice has an edge to it that wasn't there before. Your job is to have a conversation, to ask interesting questions, to make them feel welcome. What you did was none of those things. I was being honest, Sunny insists. There's a difference between being honest and being hostile, Sarah says quietly. You crossed a line. What line? Sunny demands. Since when can't we challenge people? Since when do we have to treat celebrities like they're above criticism? It's not about being above criticism, Anahita explains. It's about basic respect. You can ask tough questions without being condescending. You can challenge someone without mocking them. You didn't do that. Sunny looks around the table, and you can see it dawning on her that none of her co-hosts are on her side. Not one of them. So, you're all against me now? She asks. We're not against you, Whoopi says, carefully. But we are saying that what just happened was wrong. You were wrong. And now we have to figure out how to handle the fact that one of the biggest movie stars in the world just walked off our show because of how you treated him. He's oversensitive, Sunny mutters. No, Joy says firmly. He's not. He's a professional who has earned respect in his field, and you didn't give him that respect. That's not on him. That's on you. The camera cuts to the audience. People are talking among themselves, some shaking their heads, some looking angry, some just looking shocked. The energy in the room has completely shifted. What started as a normal talk show interview has turned into something else entirely. Something uncomfortable. Something that people will be talking about for days, weeks, maybe longer. Back at the table, Sunny sits down heavily in her chair. I was just trying to have an honest conversation, she says again, but this time her voice is smaller. Honest doesn't mean harsh, Sarah says. You can tell the truth with kindness. You can disagree with grace. You chose not to do either of those things. I think he's made the same movie over and over, Sunny says stubbornly. I'm allowed to think that. You're allowed to think whatever you want, Whoopi replies. But when you're sitting at this table, representing this show, you have a responsibility to treat people with dignity. Samuel came here in good faith. He didn't come here to be insulted. He didn't come here to defend his entire career against someone who clearly had already made up her mind about him before he even sat down. So I'm supposed to just pretend I love everything he does, Sunny asks. You're supposed to be professional, Joy answers. You're supposed to remember that there's a human being sitting across from you. Someone with feelings. Someone who has worked their entire life to get where they are. You don't have to love his work. You don't have to think he's the greatest actor in the world. But you do have to treat him with basic respect. And you didn't. Sunny doesn't respond to that. She just stares at the table, her jaw clenched. Anahita tries to fill the awkward silence. We should probably go to commercial. Yeah, Whoopi agrees, looking tired. We should definitely go to commercial. But before they can signal to the producers, before they can cut away from this disaster, Sunny speaks again. He shouldn't have walked out, she says. That was childish. The other hosts just stare at her. Joy opens her mouth, then closes it again, like she can't even find the words. Sarah shakes her head slowly. Anahita looks down at her hands. Whoopi takes a deep breath, the kind of breath you take when you're trying very hard not to say something you'll regret. You really don't get it, do you? Whoopi finally says. You really don't see what you did wrong. I gave my opinion, Sunny says. That's all. You attacked someone, Whoopi corrects her. There's a difference, and the fact that you can't see that difference is a problem. A big problem. The camera zooms in on Sunny's face. She looks defiant, but there's something else there too. Something that might be the first glimmer of doubt, the first crack in her certainty. But it's too late now. The damage is done. Samuel L. Jackson is gone, and he's not coming back. Not today. Probably not ever. Sarah tries one more time to salvage something from this mess. I think we all need to take a moment and reflect on what just happened here. This got out of hand very quickly, and I think we all bear some responsibility for that. Not all of us, Joy mutters, looking pointedly at Sunny. I heard that, Sunny snaps. Good, Joy fires back. Maybe you'll actually listen for once. Whoopi holds up her hands. Okay, that's enough. We need to go to commercial. Now. Finally, mercifully, the show cuts away. The cameras stop rolling. The bright lights dim just slightly. And the four. Women sit there in the sudden quiet, processing what just happened, knowing that this moment will define the show for a long time to come. In the back of the studio, stagehands and producers are already moving, already trying to figure out how to handle this, already knowing that this is the kind of moment that changes things, the kind of moment that people remember, the kind of moment where someone showed exactly who they are and someone else decided they deserved better. Samuel L. Jackson deserved better. He came to do an interview, to promote his work, to share his experiences. Instead, he got ambushed by someone who confused confrontation with conversation, who mistook rudeness for honesty, who thought her position gave her the right to tear down someone who has spent decades building something remarkable. And when faced with that disrespect, he did what any self-respecting professional would do. He stood up. He spoke his truth. And he walked away with his dignity intact. The empty chair where he sat is the most powerful image from the entire segment. That empty space speaks louder than any words could. It says that there are lines you don't cross, that there are ways you don't treat people, that respect is not negotiable, no matter who you are or what platform you have. The audience is still buzzing as they're released for the commercial break. People are pulling out their phones, already typing, already sharing what they just witnessed. This is going to be everywhere within the hour. The clips will go viral. The think pieces will be written. The debates will rage. But in the end, it's simple. One person showed grace under pressure. One person maintained their dignity in the face of disrespect. One person knew their worth and refused to let anyone diminish it. And one person learned, too late, that there are consequences for cruelty, that you can't hide behind honesty when what you're really doing is attacking someone, that having a platform comes with responsibility, and that responsibility includes treating people with basic human decency. The show will go on. It always does. But this moment will linger. It will be the thing people remember when they think about this episode, this day, this conversation that went so terribly wrong. Because in the end, it wasn't about movie roles or acting range or career choices. It was about respect. It was about how we treat each other, especially when we disagree. It was about remembering that behind every public figure, every celebrity, every person we see on screen, there's a human being who deserves to be treated with kindness and consideration. Samuel L. Jackson walked off The View, set knowing his worth, knowing he didn't have to accept disrespect, no matter who it came from or where he was. He walked off with his head high, his principles intact, and his dignity unshaken. And in doing so, he gave everyone watching a masterclass in self-respect. Not with anger, not with violence, not with insults, but with calm, clear, unwavering conviction that he deserved better, that we all deserve better. The empty chair remains, a testament to what happens when you forget that respect is a two-way street, when you forget that being honest doesn't mean being cruel, when you forget that the person sitting across from you is just that, a person worthy of dignity and consideration. That chair will be filled by someone else tomorrow. Another guest will come, another interview will happen, but everyone who was there, everyone who watched, will remember this moment. Will remember the day that Samuel L. Jackson said enough is enough, stood up, and walked away from someone who couldn't see that they had crossed a line that should never be crossed. And maybe, just maybe, it will make people think twice before they use their platform to tear others down. Before they confuse criticism with cruelty. Before they forget that words have power, and with that power comes responsibility to use them wisely, kindly, and with respect for the humanity of everyone involved.